Welcome back to another episode of Working Dad Trader. In this video, I just wanted to talk about some of the things that have been happening recently. There's been a lot of noise, a lot of hype in the market. And as a long-term investor, I wanted to give you my opinion of what's been going on and how you should look at it. If you're a long-term investor like myself, and you've been getting a bit freaked out or you're a beginner in the market, then this is going to be a great video for you. And I'm going to give my opinion of what I think's been happening and explain my reasons why and give a good overview of the general market. All right, so let's get into it. So when I want to have a look at what's generally going on in the market, I like to have a look at the sort of main charts. So at the moment we're looking at the S&P 500, and I just generally like to look at sort of what's generally happening. If we look at the charts, this is on the daily charts at the moment. Generally the S&P, I've got a 25 moving average, a 50 moving average, a 100 moving average, and then the 200 moving average, which is down the bottom. As you can see, it's generally been bouncing along the 25 moving average. Just recently we had a bit of a downturn and it hit the 50 moving average, and in the last few days it has rallied back up. So that's what's happened recently. You can look back and just see generally where the chart goes and how it behaves. Again, I'm not overly worried on what's happening at the moment. I don't think there's any need to panic. Obviously, there's a lot of what's happened over the last week with some of these Reddit people and causing some of this in the week, but to be fair, I think it's just a natural progression of the charts. If we look at the way the lines are positioned, they're still in an upward trend, and by that I mean the lines are quite nicely spaced out. We've got the 25 above the 50 above the 100, and the 200 the 100 above the 200, and they're still in an upward momentum. So the overall long picture to me is we're still in an upward trend. Do I think there's going to be a slight downturn, a correction? Absolutely. I think there will be one soon. But we're talking maybe a 10% correction or sort of a pullback, which is perfectly fine. If we look at the weekly chart for the S&P 500, we get more of a bigger view of what's happening, and sometimes it can be quite helpful to look at the weekly charts. And as we can see, it's obviously this was back in last year with the pandemic. It completely went through the floor, which is quite unusual, and obviously that was the last bear market before that, which hit the 200. That was back in 2018. Since that, obviously it's recovered and it's generally just bounced along again the 25 moving average for the weeks. If anything, I would say, to give it sort of evidence of why it might pull back, is generally it's getting a bit further away from the 25 line, and when this sort of thing happens, as we see here, it suddenly pulls back and gets back closer to the line again. So I can definitely see it coming back at some point, dropping back down to the 25 moving average. I can definitely see that happening. It's just something that naturally happens with the charts. As you can see, with the charts, it doesn't just go up in a straight line. It goes up and then comes back, comes up and goes back. There's this natural progression for the for a stock market to do that. The other one, if we can look at, is the Nasdaq. Again, it's very, very similar, bouncing along the 25 moving average. It's all the way along, it's sort of hitting the 25s. Again, as you can see, this is on a daily chart. It doesn't just go up in a straight line. We have pullbacks, it goes up, pulls back, it goes up, it pulls back, it goes up, it pulls back. Only slightly with the Nasdaq, obviously. That's more a lot of tech stocks in that one, and that's why it's just doing so well. Again, the lines are well fanned out, the 25, 50, the 100, the 200, so we're still in an upward trend. This is why I can't see a bear market. People are talking about bear markets coming. At the moment, I can't see that, when the overall long-term trend, I'm not talking short-term, I'm talking long-term trend, is upward momentum. Like I say, we might well get a 10% correction or a pullback. That's perfectly fine. It's perfectly healthy for the market to do that. But that could happen and we would still be in an upward trend. People start panicking and freaking out when this sort of stuff happens. But it's an excellent time to then look at companies that are overvalued, which there are a lot at the moment, and you might be able to get them cheap or at a more reasonable price. And the same story if we look on the weekly chart for the Nasdaq. If anything, it's gives the example which I was talking about, in my opinion, is again the lines are all quite well fanned out, but look how far away the bars are at the moment from the 25 moving average. It's quite a way, so I can definitely see a healthy correction there because it's way too far away. And when it's happened in the past, it gets away and then it pulls back, gets away and it pulls back, pulls back. So it's been going up for a long time, so I can definitely see soon, I mean who knows when, it could be next week, it could be a month, it could be 3-6 months time, I can definitely see there being a pullback of maybe 10%, even more than that, maybe 12%. But remember, it's not a bear market unless there's a 20% correction, which I cannot see happening. But all the way through history there have been pullbacks, all throughout the year there'll be pullbacks, and that is perfectly healthy for the market, and that's why I'm not worried. And you've got to stay quite calm and think long term and not panic short term with what's happening around the market. A lot of it is noise. A lot of what's been happening over the last few weeks with all this hype is just noise. You have to just block that out and look at investing in the long term sensibly. And this is just an overview, I think, of what's generally happening. Quite expensive at the moment, and some of the charts are indicating that a lot of it is overextended, especially when we looked at the Nasdaq. There's a lot of tech companies and the market there is overextended. But surprisingly, if you look sensibly, there are still value out there to be had, and amazingly, there's still stocks, in my opinion, my own personal opinion, that are still undervalued, even in the Nasdaq. My example would be Facebook. And this is how crazy short-termism is. Obviously, as a long-term investor, you have to look at strong, solid companies that continually make profit, and have strong balance sheets, strong financials, and that is the key to long-term investing, in my opinion. But if we look at Facebook recently, in the last week, we've had a few pullbacks in Facebook. At the moment of recording this, it's at around the 267 mark. It's been highs of 300, just over 300. So it's, in my opinion, well undervalued. And I base that on, when you look at the financials of the company. If we look down onto their financials, revenue up until the end of last year, the 31st of 12, 2012, was a record year for the company. So they're making more money than they've ever have. And you look at the income, again, Facebook's like a money machine. I mean, even the net is way higher than they've ever taken before. Obviously, it dropped a bit with a little bit of the pandemic hit, but it's just solid figures of money that this company is making. And the example is they've just literally recorded their strongest Q4 result ever, and they've crushed all expectations on that, on the what they were expected to do. Facebook absolutely crushed revenue and earning estimates, yet the stock has gone down. I mean, that's how strange the stock market works, and there's not any real reasons for that other than there's just some people in the market that different things are going on. When you just look at, you have to sort of maybe forget the noise going on and just look at what's real, which is the financials, and the company is making money after money after money. And this page is saying they're way undervalued, and it could go to 400. I think that's maybe a bit high, but it could definitely go well over 300. And it's currently at 267. I'm not saying that you should go out and buy this stock. I mean, obviously you need to make your own decisions and do your own research. But for me, as a long-term investor, this is one of the companies where it's a strong company that has a history now of strong financial results, and it's making money year after year, increasing its profits, increasing its revenue. It's just making a ton of money. So yeah, I mean, I think that's undervalued even in the circumstances now, and I've been buying more of Facebook, and I'm going to look to try and increase my position. Similar situation is the Alibaba Group. I've talked about Alibaba a lot on my channel, and I've done a lot of different videos talking about Alibaba. So yes, it is one of my favorite companies, because I really do believe it's a massive company. Obviously there's a lot been going on over the last month or so, since December, with the dispute with stuff with the Chinese regulations, and because they've been monopolizing and stopping customers from advertising and selling their items on other sites. So that's still working through, but this is one of the biggest, if not the biggest company in China. They're not gonna rip it to shreds. It's not in anyone's interest. I think what will happen is that obviously they get fined, and they won't be allowed to stop their customers, as in the people that sell on the Alibaba, from going on to other sites like JD.com. But the actual customers themselves are not going to walk away from Alibaba and stop selling their goods through Alibaba, because that is where the customers are. So you're not going to turn your back on where the massive amount of customers are. So yeah, I mean, Alibaba is basically the equivalent in Asia of Amazon. They're huge, and the customer base they have of people buying off their site is massive. So people that are sellers are not going to turn their back on Alibaba. I don't believe so, and not in a minute. It just wouldn't make no sense. And just recently they've been getting to, obviously they collapsed on the news, went right down, and they've been getting to start making a recovery. The highs before was over 300. They're currently at 263. I can see them again going back to 300 at least. Who knows, within 6 months, I would say. Just my opinion again. And again, I look at the financials, and similar to Facebook, they're just a monster money making machine. And as a long term investor, I want to be confident that I'm putting my money into big, strong companies that are money making machines. Because in the day, like Warren Buffett says, you're buying a part of this business, so you want the business to be profitable and doing well. You look at the revenue, this is in Chinese yen, but it just speaks for itself. 2017, 158, and look how it's gone up year after year. 158, 250, 376, 509. The last trailing 12 months, 584. It's just up, going up and growing all the time. Same as net income, 43, 64, 87, 149. Trailing 12 months so far, 131. This is net income. This is net what the company are making after everything, and it's just huge. So to me, a company that is growing in the right way, again, everything's going up, and the stock is below where it should be. So to me, in my opinion, that's why I'm buying companies like that. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you got something interesting out of that. Like I say, that's just my opinions on how I see the market and how I read the market. Um, I don't think it's a time to start panicking, and as a long-term investor, you have to really do look ahead and think long-term. There's always going to be a lot of short-term noise. The example of Facebook is that it's a really good company, yet short term it's gone down, which is an excellent buying opportunity for us long term investors. Sometimes the market makes no sense, and to me, why waste so much time trying to figure it all out? It does what it does, and we move on. If you really like this video, then please remember to give me a like. It really does help my channel. And if you want to see more of my videos, then please subscribe, and I hope to see you soon in more of my videos. Okay, take care.